Did you know that 72% of the world is now under authoritarian rule, a rollback to 1978 levels? Experts warn the United States is swiftly heading the same way. You clicked on this video because you are worried about what this means for your business, your livelihood, and your future. In this video, I am going to break down the authoritarian playbook being used globally. I will show you how it is already impacting businesses in the United States. Furthermore, I will reveal key strategies to not just survive, but potentially thrive in these uncertain times. The concept of authoritarianism involves a government where power is concentrated in the hands of a few. It often comes at the expense of individual freedoms and the rule of law. Historically, when nations shift towards authoritarianism, the economic landscape changes dramatically. Core tenets of a free market, such as predictable regulations, free speech, and data privacy, are directly threatened. This transition is not merely a political phenomenon, it deeply affects every aspect of society, including the business world. Businesses thrive on stability, transparency, and the ability to operate without undue interference. Authoritarianism introduces volatility, opacity, and the constant threat of government intervention. This can include protectionist policies that aim to restrict trade. These policies often lead to unintended consequences for businesses, consumers, and global stability. To truly understand the threat, we need to look at what happens when a nation descends into authoritarianism. Our first crucial lesson comes from Maria Ressa, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, journalist, and free speech champion. She faced down a dictator and the immense power of big technology. Maria Ressa is the co-founder of the Filipino news service Rappler. She meticulously documented the authoritarian shifts in the Philippines under President Rodrigo Duterte. Her experience offers a stark preview of what could happen in other democracies. She faced what she called a déjà vu and experienced symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. The Duterte regime weaponized social media to spread disinformation and silence dissent. Ressa received an average of 90 hate messages per hour. Her news organization, Rappler, faced 21 investigations by the government. She was arrested multiple times and convicted of cyber libel. She faced a cumulative sentence of 103 years in jail. The International Criminal Court even issued an arrest warrant for Rodrigo Duterte for alleged crimes against humanity. A significant part of her struggle involved the powerful role of social media platforms. Ressa met with Mark Zuckerberg, the co-founder of Facebook, in 2017. She wanted to discuss the impact of Facebook on disinformation campaigns in the Philippines. At that time, 97% of Filipinos online used Facebook. This made Facebook an indispensable tool for public discourse, but also a fertile ground for manipulation. Ressa's critique of Mark Zuckerberg highlighted the immense power held by big technology leaders. She described him as a dictator over information flow. She argued that Facebook's design, prioritizing virality, effectively favored lies over facts. This created an environment where disinformation flourished, undermining democratic processes. A crucial warning from Ressa is that data privacy is largely a myth in this digital age. She argued that social media platforms clone users, building models that know individuals better than they know themselves. This data is then used to create personalized realities, making people more susceptible to manipulation. Big technology companies often employ a deny, deflect, distract strategy. This allows them to avoid accountability for the societal damage their platforms cause. This lack of accountability poses a significant challenge for businesses that rely on these platforms for marketing and communication. Connecting this to the United States, Ressa noted that Duterte was Trump before Trump. She observed how technology served as an enabler and accelerant of democratic decline in both contexts. This historical parallel underscores that the authoritarian playbook is not unique to one country. It is a set of tactics that can be deployed anywhere that democracy is vulnerable. If you are finding this analysis eye-opening, please hit that like button. Also, let me know in the comments, what concerns you most about these trends for your business? Your engagement helps us understand these critical issues better. As authoritarianism takes root, businesses face a range of critical threats. Regulatory changes are a major concern. An authoritarian government may impose stricter controls on industries. These controls can affect everything from labor laws to environmental regulations. Companies must be prepared to adapt quickly to new rules and potentially stricter enforcement. This often leads to crony capitalism, where businesses with close ties to the ruling power gain unfair advantages. This means media capture, academic capture, non-governmental organization capture, and ultimately, state capture. Another significant challenge is the potential for censorship and control over speech. This applies to both online and offline communications. Such control could severely impact companies' marketing strategies and their ability to engage openly with customers. It could also affect internal communications within organizations. The fear of retribution or censorship could stifle innovation and open discussion within businesses. This leads to a chilling effect on creativity and critical thinking. The erosion of trust and the rule of law also create immense risk for businesses. An unpredictable legal environment, coupled with a lack of judicial independence, makes long-term planning difficult. This uncertainty discourages both domestic and foreign investment. Why would an investor commit capital to a country where laws can change arbitrarily? Why would they invest where contracts are not reliably enforced, or where assets can be seized without due process? Furthermore, a climate of fear and limited freedoms stifles innovation and deters talent. The most skilled and creative individuals often seek environments where intellectual freedom and personal liberties are protected. As such, authoritarianism can lead to a brain drain, as talented professionals leave in search of more open societies. This drains a nation of the very human capital needed for economic growth and competitiveness. Different sectors face unique vulnerabilities. Technology companies, for instance, are bracing for potential regulations on data privacy and digital communications. They may be forced to comply with government surveillance or censorship demands. This could compromise their ethical standing and user trust. On the other hand, businesses in more traditional industries, such as manufacturing or services, might face different kinds of pressures. These could include increased scrutiny over their operations, supply chains, or even forced nationalization. The financial sector is also feeling the heat. There are concerns about how authoritarianism could affect global trade and investment flows. Companies with international operations are particularly vulnerable. They must navigate complex regulatory environments and heightened geopolitical tensions. For example, trade wars or sanctions imposed by an authoritarian regime can disrupt supply chains and access to markets. This highlights the interconnectedness of global commerce and political stability. Our understanding of business resilience must extend beyond national borders. It must include the impacts of global trade policies. Professor Jeffrey Sachs, a renowned economist, offers critical insights into the dangers of protectionism. He also speaks on the nuances of international relations. His perspective reveals how short-sighted policies can backfire on the very nations they aim to protect. Professor Sachs believes that protectionism will ultimately backfire on the United States. He argues that policies aimed at containing countries like China are nonsensical and a grave mistake. Such policies, he suggests, could isolate the United States instead of containing its perceived rivals. This approach, initiated by former President Barack Obama and continued by Presidents Donald Trump and Joe Biden, is unlikely to succeed geopolitically or economically. China, according to Sachs, is in a strong economic position. It leads in the low-cost production of cutting-edge technologies. These include artificial intelligence with companies like DeepSeek, electric vehicles with companies like BYD, and advanced wireless communication with Huawei's 5.5G technology. China is highly innovative, particularly in green and digital technologies. The world, especially the developing world, eagerly seeks partnerships with China in supply chains, market access, and trade. Ironically, Trump's protectionist measures have strengthened China. These measures have made China a more reliable partner for other countries that are weary of trade uncertainties with the United States. For example, China's semiconductor self-sufficiency is projected to reach 70% by the year 2030. This demonstrates its increasing independence from external supply chains. Professor Sachs advises United States policymakers against adopting a zero-sum game mentality in international relations. He emphasizes that one nation's success does not automatically mean another nation's failure. Protectionism harms the United States economy by limiting access to cheaper goods and more efficient supply chains. It also isolates the United States from global partners. Mutually beneficial trade relationships have historically driven global prosperity. When specific domestic sectors are negatively affected by trade, Sachs suggests that governments should implement regional or redistributional policies to help those workers and communities. This approach avoids protectionism, which hurts the broader economy. Furthermore, Sachs strongly advises the United States to stop sending armaments to Taiwan. He views this as a provocation that could lead to a proxy war. He suggests that Taiwan should instead engage in negotiations with Beijing. For businesses, this means understanding the geopolitical risks associated with volatile regions. They must consider the potential for supply chain disruptions, market access issues, and heightened security concerns. Sachs emphasizes that China is not an enemy, it is a success story. The United States needs to accept that China will have a larger economy due to its vast population size. Denying this reality and engaging in containment strategies only creates unnecessary tension and missed economic opportunities. Businesses should factor in these global power shifts when developing their international strategies. This includes diversifying their markets and supply chains to reduce reliance on any single country. American policymakers, Sachs notes, often presume they know what other nations will do. This leads to a lack of genuine negotiation and communication. Without open dialogue, strategic relationships are more likely to deteriorate and end badly. This criticism extends to American presumptions about the outside world, which Sachs finds to be narrow, uninformed, and not based on personal experience or robust negotiation. For businesses, this means understanding the importance of cultural intelligence and direct engagement in international dealings. Relying on stereotypes or limited information can lead to costly mistakes. Europe's relationship with China offers another perspective. Europe and China are naturally cooperative due to their geographical positions at either end of Eurasia. Sachs suggests aligning China's Belt and Road Initiative with Europe's Global Gateway. This alignment would create mutual benefits through infrastructure development and trade. Trump's policies may inadvertently bring Europe and China closer together. This is because Europe perceives the United States as an increasingly unstable partner. Europe, Sachs argues, needs strategic autonomy and a stronger European Union. This strength is necessary to effectively deal with global powers like China, Russia, and the United States. He even calls for a dissolution of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. He believes this should have happened in the early 1990s after the Cold War. Sachs suggests that NATO could end within the next 10 years, depending on United States policy. He wants Europe to build military and security autonomy for peace and deterrence, not for war. He supports European-built military systems for economic benefits, technological independence, and control over their defense capabilities. The rise of artificial intelligence, or AI, presents both immense opportunities and significant risks. AI can vastly improve human well-being through advancements in healthcare, education, and efficiency. However, it also poses dangers like pervasive surveillance, extreme concentration of power, and increased militarization. There is also a concern about the potential loss of human control over critical systems. Sachs expresses concern about the hostility of the Trump administration towards specific artificial intelligence initiatives like DeepSeek. He warns about the symbiosis of the security state and Silicon Valley. This alliance is happening quickly and often in obscurity. For businesses, this means navigating the ethical implications of artificial intelligence development and deployment. They must consider issues of data privacy, algorithmic bias, and the potential for their technologies to be used for surveillance or control. This is a critical area where corporate responsibility and foresight are paramount. So, what can businesses do? It is not about passive survival. It is about strategic resilience. Maria Ressa offers a crucial framework for fighting back against these pressures, and Professor Sachs provides valuable lessons for navigating the global economic and political landscape. First, Ressa advises to embrace fear and plan for worst-case scenarios. Rappler, for example, drilled for shutdown scenarios, a process depicted in the documentary 1,000 Cuts. For businesses, this means developing robust business continuity plans, This includes legal preparedness for unexpected regulatory changes or legal challenges. It also involves diversifying operations across different regions or markets to reduce single-point vulnerabilities. This includes being less reliant on single supply chains. Second, Ressa emphasizes the importance of standing up and avoiding silence. She argues that silence equals consent. She stresses the need to negotiate with bullies and understand asymmetrical power dynamics. For businesses, this translates into taking a stand on corporate social responsibility. It means ensuring ethical supply chains and advocating for democratic principles within legal boundaries. Companies may need to balance short-term profitability with long-term ethical considerations and societal impact. Lobby groups can play a critical role here by advocating for policies that support open markets and democratic values, rather than protectionism. Third, Ressa highlights the power of building communities of action and trust. She emphasizes the importance of feeding them with journalism and having a support system. Businesses can apply this by forming industry alliances to address common challenges. They can engage with legal networks specializing in human rights or press freedom. Furthermore, they can support independent media organizations that provide reliable information. This builds a collective front against authoritarian tendencies and misinformation. Consumers can also be empowered by reliable information. Fourth, Ressa advocates for exploring alternative technology stacks. She proposes a public tech stack in the virtual world, mirroring the laws of the physical world. She discusses the development of a matrix protocol chat application as an open-source, federated platform. This platform protects user rights and promotes real conversations without manipulation. Businesses should consider privacy-centric technologies and decentralized platforms. These alternatives can help protect sensitive data and ensure secure, uncensored communication channels. Relying solely on centralized, profit-driven platforms controlled by a few large corporations poses significant risks under authoritarianism and increased surveillance. Finally, Ressa calls for reclaiming values and restoring the incentive structure. She argues against the creation of personalized realities driven by algorithms. Businesses can contribute by fostering internal truth and transparency. They can implement ethical data practices that prioritize user privacy and well-being over purely extractive models. This also means supporting initiatives that promote media literacy and critical thinking among employees and customers. From Professor Sachs, the lessons for governments are clear. Avoid protectionism because it harms the domestic economy and isolates the nation globally. Engage in genuine negotiation and communication with other global powers. Do not presume to know the intentions of others without direct dialogue. Understand that the world is not a zero-sum game, and the success of one nation does not necessitate the failure of another. For consumers, the lesson is that protectionist policies often lead to higher prices and reduced choices. Informed consumers can advocate for policies that promote open markets and fair trade. For businesses and lobby groups, the key takeaways involve strategic adaptation. Diversify supply chains and markets to mitigate geopolitical risks. Invest in innovation, particularly in areas like green and digital technologies, where global demand is high. Understand the evolving global economic landscape and the rise of new economic powers. Advocate for policies that support international cooperation and avoid isolating trade measures. Continuously assess ethical implications of new technologies, especially artificial intelligence, to ensure responsible development and deployment. The implications of these changes are far-reaching. They affect not just individual companies, but the broader global economy and democratic principles themselves. As the world continues to navigate these political and economic shifts, businesses, governments, lobby groups, and consumers must stay informed and agile. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: adaptability, ethical conduct, and a commitment to open dialogue will be key to survival and prosperity. This conversation is just the beginning. To dive deeper into specific strategies for protecting your intellectual property in a volatile political climate, you will find a video on your screen now. If you found this analysis valuable, please consider subscribing for more insights on business, technology, and the future. As always, share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think businesses should prepare for an increasingly uncertain world?